The moment she laughed, I stopped breathing. It wasn't the sound of joy. It was something else, low, private, like a laugh meant for someone she wanted close. I was in the basement, rewiring the breaker panel like I promised I'd get around to, when her voice floated down through the vents. At first, I didn't think much of it, just Camille on the phone again. She spent a lot of time on calls lately, long ones, hushed ones. But then I heard it. "He still thinks I love him," she said, voice syrupy with mock affection. "This dumb loser has no idea." My hands froze mid-connection, the wires twisted in my grip like live snakes. I stood there, crouched behind the open panel, hearing my heart thump louder than the furnace. Upstairs, she kept talking, muffled phrases I couldn't make out. Whoever she was speaking to made her giggle again, sharp, cruel. Then, footsteps across hardwood. She moved away. "My name is Reed Wallace. I'm 42 years old, senior systems engineer at Kelridge Technologies. I've been in cybersecurity for almost 2 decades, long enough to know that most people don't see the knife until it's already under the ribs. I design layered defenses for multi-billion-dollar defense firms, smart locks, AI surveillance filters, black box encryption, kill switch protocols, systems that protect what matters most. But I missed the one thing I should have seen coming in my own home. Camille and I have been married 8 years. We met at a trade expo. She was working PR for a startup, trying to pitch us some thermal drone integration. She had this effortless charm, the kind that made you feel like the only one in the room. Maybe I should have known then that charm like that doesn't come without cost. But back then, I didn't care. She made me feel seen, and that was enough. Now, crouched in the cold glow of the panel, I rewound every oddity from the past 3 months like it was surveillance footage. The new credit card charges she waved off as late-night retail therapy. The nights she said she was too tired to talk. The passwords she changed on the shared calendar. I'd chalked it all up to stress. But stress doesn't laugh behind your back. Stress doesn't call you a dumb loser to someone else. I didn't storm upstairs, didn't slam a door or shout. That's not who I am. I finished the job, rewired the panel, cleaned up my tools, washed the grease off my hands in the garage sink, and looked at myself in the mirror mounted above it. Same face, same eyes, but something under the skin had gone still. When I walked into the kitchen, she was slicing lemons into a pitcher like she always did for her evening cocktail. She smiled, that same glossy magazine smile. "Everything good down there?" she asked. I nodded. "Breaker's fine now. Might still flicker until the load balances out." She said something about calling an electrician next time, but I didn't really hear it. My eyes drifted to her phone, face down on the counter, locked. She used to keep it open, not anymore. That night, I drank my beer in silence and watched the security feed of our front porch from my tablet like I always do before bed. Motion detection logged Camille coming back in from the porch earlier that day, but nothing else. I scrubbed through the footage, no deliveries, no visitors, just her, standing out there for 3 minutes, looking at her phone. I turned off the tablet and went upstairs. She was already in bed, scrolling, earbuds in. I kissed her goodnight. She mumbled something, barely lifting her eyes from the screen. I laid there next to her, staring at the ceiling, measuring breaths, counting patterns. In the dark, I could feel the weight of her secrets pressing through the mattress. At 2:14 a.m., when her breathing deepened and her grip on the phone slackened, I slipped out of bed. I opened the hallway closet and quietly pulled out the locked toolkit she didn't know existed. Then I went into the crawl space beneath the stairs and retrieved the Faraday pouch where I kept my burner devices. One for surveillance, one for field ops. Both still clean, untouched since I left private contracting. I never thought I'd need them again. Until now. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I laid next to my wife with my back to her, eyes open, mind clicking through frameworks and contingencies like I was prepping for a breach. She thought I was dumb. She was half right. I let her think that. Because now I was no longer her husband. I was her shadow. I burned the chicken on purpose. Camille stood across the kitchen, trying to salvage the charred mess I had pulled from the oven like some proud caveman. "You didn't set a timer?" she asked, dabbing the smoke from her eyes. I shrugged, sheepish. "Got distracted with the invoice pile. I thought the new billing software would auto-generate totals, but I think I broke something." She sighed, her tone somewhere between amusement and mild irritation. You've had that software for 6 months, Reed. I know, I guess I'm just not built for this tech stuff like I used to be. That earned a chuckle from her. The laugh sounded real, warm even. I smiled back, playing the part. The dumb loser she thought I was. The man too slow to see what she was doing right in front of him. It was a performance. Every blink, every fumble. A carefully orchestrated routine designed to lower her guard. But behind that smile, I was rewriting our house's ecosystem line by line. After she went to bed, I stayed downstairs, told her I was catching up on an old science fiction movie. In reality, I was inside the server room I'd built 2 years ago, the so-called media closet that was really a disguised rack of routers, storage drives, and failover nodes. Camille thought it was just for streaming 4K movies and managing climate control. She had no idea the system was originally designed as a layered security grid, one I modeled off private embassy specs during my black contract days. I started by purging the cloud sync. Every smart camera in the house stopped uploading data externally. Google, Amazon, our cable provider's remote DVR, all shut out. Then I created a looped cache, rerouting the camera feeds to a local encrypted drive I soldered together myself. No more cloud, no more automatic backups. Everything was now only accessible from a device in my pocket that she didn't even know existed. She'd watch me scroll Instagram like I had nothing better to do. She didn't know I was checking timestamps, cross-referencing her text logs with GPS drift patterns from her phone's hidden tether. The next Friday, she told me she had yoga with Marcy, her usual excuse when she needed 3 hours to disappear. I might grab smoothies after, so don't wait up, she said, tossing her mat into the trunk. I kissed her cheek and waved goodbye. 30 minutes later, I was in my Jeep 2 blocks away, engine idling, watching her car via a third-party GPS trace I'd discreetly embedded during her last oil change. She didn't go anywhere near the yoga studio. Instead, she parked downtown, stepped out in heels she didn't wear for me anymore, and walked straight into a rooftop bistro I knew required reservations. I followed on foot, using a signal jammer to avoid security cameras. From across the street, I watched her slide into a booth with a man who looked like he bathed in arrogance. He was the type who wore a watch that cost more than my car and laughed too hard at his own stories. Camille leaned toward him, touched his wrist when she laughed, and let him brush a loose strand of hair from her cheek. I took 3 photos. No flash, no sound. Then I followed him to his car. Audi A7, custom plates, took a picture of that too. I ran his plates when I got home and cross-checked the name with offshore registry databases. Damien Keller. 3 shell companies. 1 dissolved in the Cayman Islands. The kind of man who didn't stay long enough to leave fingerprints. I didn't confront her. I made her tea when she got home and asked how the yoga was. She said she held crow pose for like a full minute. I smiled. That's amazing, babe. While she showered, I installed biometric access locks on the basement and attic doors, fingerprint only, mine exclusively. The rest of the house began to shift shape slowly, invisibly. A false floorboard in the den became a hidden panic trigger. The coat closet by the front door got a pressure sensor that activated if someone over 200 pounds stepped in without a key fob. The bookshelf in the office, once decorative, now housed a silent drop drawer with a retractable sidearm. I reinforced the glass in the master bedroom, replaced it with polycarbonate panels that looked normal but could take a bullet. I rewired the garage door opener to deadlock if opened during off hours, unless overridden manually, all while pretending to struggle with an antivirus issue on my laptop. Camille even joked that I should let her call Geek Squad. Maybe they'll give you a loyalty discount, she said, smirking. I laughed. I'm hopeless without help. Hopeless. That was the story I wanted her to believe, that she'd outgrown me, that I'd gotten soft, too old, too slow, that her secrets were safe because I was too distracted trying to figure out how to boil rice or balance our water bill. She didn't see what I was building underneath her. She thought this was still her house. She didn't know it had already become a fortress, not for her, from her. The bruise on her arm was no accident, but it wasn't from me. Camille made sure I saw it while she poured her morning coffee, left sleeve pushed just far enough to expose it, a bloom of purple and green across her forearm, perfectly staged. I didn't ask. I just glanced at it, nodded, and said, "You should get that looked at." She didn't even blink. Slipped on the stairs yesterday. Must have hit the banister. A beat. Then, You know, with how cluttered it's been lately, someone could get hurt. I looked up from my toast and smiled. I'll tidy up this weekend. She was laying the foundation, quietly, meticulously. I heard her on the phone later that day, out on the patio. I didn't need to hear every word, just enough. He's not the same, she said. I think he's paranoid, jumpy, ever since he started burning dinner and messing up the bills. A pause. No, I don't feel unsafe. Yet. Yet. I logged the call, saved the audio, labeled it Narrative Phase 1. Over the next week, I watched her play it out like a seasoned actress. She let herself cry once during a FaceTime with her sister. Subtle, just enough to raise concern without triggering full-blown panic. Told her boss I was having adjustment issues. Said I'd been off ever since work stress spiked. She was painting me as unstable, unpredictable, dangerous even, a man on the edge. She didn't know I was the one holding the edge. And then Damien's name surfaced again. Not in casual flirtation this time, but in a whisper I caught through a decrypted text thread between Camille and an encrypted number she thought was private. One phrase kept appearing in variations. Liquidate the asset. Remove the liability. That was the moment the tone changed. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. Damien wasn't just some overpaid financial predator looking to screw a bored wife. He was something else, something colder. Camille had brought him in for more than comfort. They had plans, and I was in the way. So I invited her family over for dinner. Camille blinked when I brought it up over breakfast. Your mom said she misses your lemon tart. I told her I'd make it Saturday. Everyone's coming by around 6. She narrowed her eyes. You planned a family dinner without asking me? I smiled. Figured it'd lift your spirits. She nodded slowly, like trying to calculate the angle. But she said nothing, and that silence told me everything. I spent the next 2 days scrubbing the house, polishing the floors, organizing the kitchen to the exact setup she preferred. I even dug out the old recipe book with her favorite dessert, hand-zesting lemons while she watched from the doorway with folded arms and an uneasy expression. You're cheerful, she said. Just want things to feel normal again. She didn't reply. That night, her mother complimented the tart 3 times. Her father asked about my job, and I lied through my teeth about cutting-edge firewall upgrades. Her brother, quiet, twitchy, asked Camille if everything was okay between you two. She forced a laugh, looped her arm through mine, and said, Of course, he's just been a little intense lately. Her fingers tightened around my bicep when she said it, a private signal, one I pretended not to notice. After they left, she kissed me goodnight and went to bed. I watched her until she fell asleep, then went outside and waited. Damien showed up at 1:43 a.m. He moved like someone used to trespassing, slow, careful, confident. He wore black, gloves on, phone out. He stayed close to the hedges along the back fence, crouching by the window that faced the kitchen. I knew that angle. It had the weakest visibility from the street, something I'd never corrected on purpose. I stepped into the shadows, 10 feet away, silent. He scanned the house, probably looking for movement, lights, signs of life. I let him look. I left the side entrance unlocked, intentionally, just barely ajar, a subtle invitation. He paused at the door, hand resting on the knob like he was testing for heat. Go ahead, I thought. Come inside. This wasn't panic. This wasn't revenge. This was something colder, sharper. I wasn't defending myself. I was setting a table. The wolves were already circling. I was just letting them in. The silence inside the panic room was absolute. Soundproofed walls, no windows, one door sealed from the inside with a reinforced steel bolt she didn't even know existed until it locked behind her. Camille stood in the middle of the room, shaking, her face streaked with sweat and confusion. Damien lay slumped in the far corner, unconscious. Legs splayed, lips parted. The gas hit him within seconds of stepping into the study. A precise cocktail, non-lethal but effective. He'd be out for hours. She spun to face me as I stepped from the shadows, gun holstered, arms loose by my sides. What did you do? Her voice cracked. Reed, what the hell did you do? I didn't answer. I stared at her the way you stare at a puzzle with a missing piece. Not with rage, just cold curiosity. The kind that makes people uncomfortable. She took a step back, glancing around like she just realized the room had no visible exit. Where are we? Panic room, I said calmly. Soundproof, temperature controlled, scramble cell signals, no cameras. Only this room and one other in the house have no surveillance. You ever wonder why? Her lip trembled. You're scaring me. Good, now you know how I've felt for 3 months. I walked to the control panel, embedded in the wall, and tapped a code. The overhead lights dimmed to 60%. The air conditioning shut off. The silence grew louder. She started to hyperventilate. Please, she whispered. This isn't you. You're not like this. I turned to face her. You're right. I wasn't like this. But then I heard you call me a dumb loser. I watched you lie, night after night, while you were busy planning my exit like a financial transaction. Camille broke. The tears came fast, shoulders shaking, hands rising to cover her face. It might have worked once, might have even broken something in me. Not now. You get one chance, I said. Right here, right now. You tell me the truth, unfiltered. Or this house decides for me. She blinked. What does that mean? I didn't explain. I just stared. The moment stretched. Then she sank to the floor and started talking. I didn't mean for it to start this way, she whispered. But I never wanted us, not like this. I said nothing. She wiped her eyes, inhaled, and looked straight at me. I married you for the house, for the way you made me feel protected, safe. You were stable, predictable. The kind of man my mother always said was a good investment. And I was tired of running, so I stayed. A pause. But I didn't love you, not really. You were convenient. I felt something shift in my chest, not pain, not anger, just confirmation, like hearing a lab result you already expected. She went on, voice low. Damien said we could have a clean life, that if I helped him get leverage, your security protocols, your access lists, he could make everything disappear. No lawyers, no messy divorce, just clean, done. Leverage, I repeated. She nodded. I told him you weren't paying attention, that you'd never see it coming, that you were too stuck in your routines. You mean too trusting? She hesitated, then nodded. And Damien, I asked, what was his endgame? He said he had buyers, interested in your prototypes, the smart wall systems, the AI-coded security patterns. He said one data dump could be worth millions to the right firms, especially overseas. I exhaled slowly. So you fed him pieces, just enough to look like breadcrumbs, and then waited for me to become expendable. Her voice cracked again. Reed, I never wanted it to get violent. Damien said he'd just scare you, that you'd leave, that I'd get the house, the accounts, everything. I stared at her for a long moment. You ever think I might have known? She blinked. What? That maybe my silence wasn't stupidity. Maybe it was strategy. Her lips parted. A sliver of real fear cracked through her mascara-smudged eyes. I walked to the panel by the bookshelf. Quiet, unhurried, flipped open the hidden compartment and pressed a button. A soft mechanical click echoed through the room. The countdown timer illuminated in red. 500. She jumped to her feet. What did you do? Reed, what is that? 5 minutes, I said, for what happens next. She ran to the door, slammed her fists against it. You can't lock me in. This isn't legal. I tilted my head. Neither is treason. She slid back down to the floor, sobbing. Please, I was desperate. I thought you didn't care about me. I thought you were just empty. No, I said, not empty, just listening. I sat down in the chair across from her, arms resting on my knees, eyes locked on the countdown. 4 minutes, 15 seconds. Let the house decide. 6 months have passed, and not once have I looked back. I live off-grid now, tucked away in a range of pine and quiet hills that don't ask questions. No street name, no mailbox, just coordinates and silence. The kind that isn't empty, just honest. I go by a new name, on paper, on bank statements, on every log that matters. I built a small cabin with my own hands. No blueprints, no contractors, just wood, metal, and time. The place breathes in the cold and exhales peace. The house, gone, sold under Camille's name before she even realized she no longer had control of it. She tried to have me committed the week after Damien disappeared, played the concerned spouse, brought fake reports, recorded conversations she thought sounded damning. but it all unraveled fast. The power of attorney document, legally signed and notarized 6 weeks earlier, stripped her of any leverage. Her attorney blinked twice when he saw it. So did the officer she tried to convince. After that night, no one knew what to do with her. When police responded to the 911 call, neighbors reporting screams and smoke, they found Damien and another man tied up outside on the lawn, dazed, eyes wide and unfocused, bruised, confused, incoherent. They couldn't say what happened, couldn't explain how they got there. One kept mumbling about walls that moved, the other couldn't speak at all. He left town the next day. Damien got picked up 2 weeks later on unrelated fraud charges, bank wire anomalies, offshore transfers. He never mentioned Camille, didn't have to. She told them I was behind it all, that I snapped, built a prison, tortured them. But the security system logs showed nothing, no footage, no data. As far as the cloud was concerned, the house had gone dark at 9:37 p.m. and stayed that way for 12 hours. No proof, no confession, no witnesses. She cried in the police station, claimed I erased everything, that I was dangerous, but the house had been wiped clean before they stepped inside. Furniture gone, hard drives replaced, foundation records filed under her maiden name. She owned it on paper. But the story? I held that. I watched it all unfold from a bench across the street in a hooded coat, sipping coffee like any other invisible man. Camille had to undergo a psychological evaluation. That's what the paper called it. I didn't read further. I didn't need to. No charges, no trial, just silence. And that was enough. I spend my mornings chopping wood, my afternoons teaching wilderness survival courses to small groups under assumed names. Former corporate execs, a couple military retirees, women who got out of bad situations and wanted to learn how to disappear. I don't ask questions. I teach them how to move through the world without leaving a trail, how to defend themselves, how to stay aware. Sometimes one of them looks at me like they know I'm not just another hermit with scars. Like maybe I used to be something sharper, but no one ever says it out loud. I like it that way. My nights are quiet. I keep the windows open in the summer. In winter, I close them tight and let the fire crackle. I don't miss the noise, the traffic, the dinner parties, the fake smiles. I don't miss her perfume or the hollow way she said my name. I don't miss pretending to be blind just to buy time. I kept one thing from the old life, a journal, black leather, no branding. Inside, a single entry written in ink from a pen I hadn't touched in years. She invited wolves into my home. She thought I was a sheep. I fed them their teeth, quietly, completely, and I didn't even raise my voice. I close the journal and slide it back into the false bottom of my desk drawer. Not because I'm hiding it, because it doesn't need to be on display. Not every victory demands a spotlight. Out here, there are no trophies, no applause, just breathe, dirt, wind, and truth. The cabin creaks as I pull on my coat. I step outside and walk into the trees. No destination, just movement, just presence. I've learned the terrain by heart. I know the sounds the woods make when something is wrong. I know when the birds stop singing and the leaves go too still. I am alone, but I am never unprepared.